Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a framework, maybe not just laws, but deep compassion that really lays out what every child deserves. Today, we're diving into something that hits, the very core of society, children's rights as Islam articulates them.
Yeah, and what's really striking is how these rights aren't just like legal points. They're woven into responsibility, compassion, spiritual well-being too. Our source today is excerpts from Rights of Children in Islam. And our mission really is to pull out those core ideas. What's a child's place? How should they be treated? We want to give you a full picture, maybe reveal some things that are, well, quite surprising.
Okay, so right off the bat, what jumps out is love. The source is really clear. Receiving the love they want and need. That's a child's greatest right. It even says, look, parents can give everything else, clothes, food, school, but if they miss out on love, they've still kind of failed in the upbringing. That's
Yeah.
pretty direct.
It really is, and it challenges how we sometimes think, doesn't it? The key here is this idea of unconditional. Love isn't something the child has to earn through, good behavior or grades. No, it's presented as a fundamental requirement, an absolute right. The text connects this to Allah's command for fairness and kindness to everyone, children included, obviously. And there's a warning, too, if you neglect that love, the child might become harsh by nature, because it says they record how you interact with them. And that interaction then becomes part of who they are.
Wow. And it's not just theory, is it? The source gives these really powerful, real life examples from the Prophet Muhammad himself, peace be upon him. And just for context for you listening, when we mention the Prophet, we're usually drawing from highly respected collections of his sayings and actions like Sahih al-Bukhari or Sahih Muslim. These are foundational texts. So, for instance, it mentions him hugging, kissing, even smelling his son, Ibrahim, just everyday affection. Then there's that really striking story about Al-Aqra ibn Habis. This guy boasts he has 10 kids but has never kissed any of them. And the Prophet's response, he who shows no mercy will not receive mercy. That second one, for me, really lands the spiritual importance of just, basic affection, what hits you there.
The second one is so telling because it takes mercy, which can feel abstract, and grounds it in a simple kiss. It shows mercy isn't just about, say, not hitting them. It's about active, warm engagement. It suggests really a deep connection between how tender a parent is and their own spiritual state. Like the Prophet's words imply, if you can't show that basic compassion to your own kids, it points to something deeper lacking spiritually.
And building on that love, that foundation, the source then talks about how that love shows up day to day, respectful treatment. And it highlights this dual responsibility. Okay, yes, the child should obey and respect the parent, but equally, the parent is commanded to respect the child. And it extends that respect to, quote, the entire creation. That's quite a scope.
It is quite a scope, and it's so important for building those strong, healthy bonds. The text gets practical too. It advises, don't make a child feel guilty if they accidentally break something. Why? Because they often intend not to do it. Simple human error. It also warns, raising your voice will scare the child and thus damage the bond. And then there's this direct ruling, which is powerful. To yell, scold, or put down your child is not from Islam, and it is haram. Haram meaning strictly forbidden, unlawful.
Yeah.
It is haram to act that way. So this isn't just, try not to yell. It's framed as religiously forbidden.
Hearing yelling described as haram, that's impactful. It feels like a very strong stance, stronger than maybe many cultures are used to, even when we talk about discipline. And there's another quote from the Prophet, peace be upon him, that just hammers this home. He who is not merciful to the young has nothing to do with us in conduct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That saying basically says mercy towards kids isn't optional for someone trying to follow the path. It's like a defining characteristic. It makes respectful treatment not just about good parenting skills, but about your actual spiritual character.
Okay, so this sense of unconditional love and respect, it naturally leads to thinking about siblings, right? Fairness. The source acknowledges a common issue, a pitfall, parents sometimes loving one child more or showing it more. And Islam actively pushes for fair treatment for all kids. It warns about giving a gift to one and, quote, leaving the other one hanging. Seems simple, but deep down.
And deep down, it's about stopping resentment and anger before they even start. The text is explicit. If you're negligent about fairness, there's a risk the child will build resentment and anger later on. Now, this isn't saying parents can't feel differently at times. Feelings are complex. But it's about how you act. Making sure treatment, especially with things like gifts or chances, is equal. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said it plainly. Fear Allah and treat your children fairly. It's more than just advice. It's tied to piety.
Right. Then we get to another big one. Education. A good education. And it's not just one kind. It covers both Islamic learning and, well, secular knowledge needed for life. It really emphasizes teaching Tawhid, the core concept of the oneness of God, from early on, calls it a strong foundation for further knowledge. I'm curious, what does this dual focus tell us? Religious and secular, what's the goal here?
Well, that dual focus is really key. It suggests the goal is a well-rounded person, someone with spiritual roots and the practical skills to function in the world. The text says, educate your child to be able to function well in the country he or she lives in. Practical stuff. And parents should provide valuable information and assist the child in the learning processes. Be involved. What's also fascinating is the stress on the teacher. Find a respectful, gentle, and honest teacher. Why? Because the child will pick up on good things from his or her teacher. It's not just the curriculum, it's the role model. The character influence is huge.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, connected wisdom and knowledge to something truly enviable. He said, there is no envy except in two. Basically, only two things are worth wishing you had, like someone else. A person Allah gave wealth to, who spends it right, and a person Allah gave wisdom, religious knowledge, who decides and teaches based on it. That really puts learning and teaching on a high pedestal, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It equates knowledge that leads to wisdom and helps others with like the best kind of charity. It's a huge motivator for both learning and sharing that learning.
Okay, switching gears a bit to physical and emotional well-being. Safety. Children have a right to a place of safety, and this isn't just locks on the doors, it's safety to express, have thoughts, speak. The house itself should provide a safe atmosphere. That idea of psychological safety feels very current, but it's right here in the text.
It does feel very current, remarkably so, and parents are clearly marked as responsible for creating that safety. The source gives practical advice. Live in a good neighborhood, remove abusers, protect them from incorrect behavior. Makes sense. Then there's this intriguing, maybe less obvious instruction from the Prophet, peace be upon him. When night falls, stop taking your children outside temporarily because the devils are spreading. Now, however you interpret devils, it points to a principle of extra caution, heightened vigilance at certain times, protecting them. And it reminds us of that shared responsibility. The man is the shepherd of his family, responsible for them. The woman is the shepherd of her husband's house and her children. Safety is a team effort.
Definitely. Okay, now something that might seem obvious, but it's explicitly stated. Being fed, a fundamental right. The source says kids should not be starving, and deliberately starving them. That's called a great injustice, a major sin, oppression, and abuse. It's stated very, very strongly.
Yes, and it's not just about not doing harm. It's about actively doing good. And there's a spiritual dimension. The text says there's a great reward for the Muslims for feeding children. It's even seen as a form of sadaqah, this charity, an act done for God's sake. So feeding your kids isn't just a duty, it's an act of worship almost. It elevates that daily task.
And that story, the anecdote about the poor woman with her two daughters, it just brings it all home. She has 3 dates, gives one to each daughter. She's about to eat the last one herself, but they look like they want it. So she splits her 1 date between them, even though she's hungry. And the Prophet's comment, verily, Allah has secured paradise for her because of this, or saved her from hellfire. It's such a powerful picture of selflessness for your children and the immense value placed on it.
Incredibly moving, yes. It shows how putting the child's needs first, even basic survival needs, is seen as profoundly meritorious. It underlines that spiritual weight of nurturing children.
All right, finally, the right to maintenance of needs. This is broader than just food, shelter, clothes, school supplies, books. We're talking basic necessities here. Not necessarily, the latest gadgets, but the fundamentals for a decent upbringing.
And this is where reality hits for many parents, right? It can be a struggle. The text even acknowledges you might have to save up to be able to realize their basic needs.
Yeah.
But again, look at the framing. Children are an amma, a trust that Allah has given you. So spending on them isn't just about buying stuff. It's fulfilling that trust. It's for their physical needs, yes, but also for a noble upbringing, to build their trust in you as they grow. It reframes the whole responsibility as sacred.
That idea of amana, a trust, it changes everything, doesn't it? And what about tough situations, like if a father isn't providing enough? The source includes practical guidance from the Prophet, peace be upon him, the story of Hind bint Utbah. Her husband, Abu Sufyan, wasn't giving enough for her and the kids. She asked the Prophet, essentially, is it okay if I take some of his money without asking? And the Prophet's advice was pragmatic. Take from his property what is customary that will be sufficient for you and your children. Oh, good. It shows that the child's right to basic needs is protected, even when navigating difficult family dynamics. There's a way to ensure they're met. Wow, what an incredible deep dive, really, into the rights of children in Islam. We've covered so much ground. from that foundational, unconditional love and respect through education, safety, basic food and needs. It's all woven into faith, responsibility, compassion,
Yeah.
and backed by practical, timeless guidance.
And if you connect it all, the bigger picture is clear. These aren't just nice suggestions, they're duties. Duties aimed at raising kids who are well-rounded, who feel loved, who are capable. The source really shows this holistic view of child rearing. It emphasizes how everything a parent does or doesn't do has this profound, lasting impact on a child's character, their well-being, their whole future, seeing them as these precious trusts.
So, listening to all this, what does it mean for you as you reflect on these ideas? Consider this. How might truly seeing children as an amana, a sacred trust, change how we as a whole society approach nurturing the next generation, regardless of our own backgrounds or beliefs? Something to think about.